Hey, get on my seat. Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah.
And I'm Will.
And today we're going to go over basically the entire draft, but we're going to go every single team and just kind of figure out what we should grade them, especially about a few things that they picked up during the draft and everything.
Yeah, but this is going to be our arbitrary value of these picks that really won't mean anything until about 3 or 4 years, and then we'll just see how wrong we were. So
Yeah.
it's an opinion that doesn't really matter.
Until 5 years later.
And then we'll just see how wrong we are.
We're
Starting with the Cardinals. Looking at what they got, added Walter Nolan in the first, Will Johnson in the second. I think that alone is already just a really good start. I really like how their first 2 rounds went. Jordan Birch was a pretty good third-round selection. Buffing up that, you got an edge and a D-tackle, and you already got an edge and a D-tackle in free agency. And again, Will Johnson's extra help. They really bolstered up their defense.
Yes.
They went all defense except for a guard in the 6th in Hayden Connor out of Texas. Honestly, don't feel like it needs to be talked about too much, but I do really like what they did.
Yeah, the Cardinals' draft is they focused on the right things. I appreciate that, which means that they can actually build off of what they were supposed to build off of for so many years, but they didn't do that. Obviously, Will Johnson is my favorite player out of all these guys. I really want to see him succeed, and I think Arizona could be a good spot for him to develop because he could be that, not the one-man wrecking crew, but he can make a name for himself there. He can make a name for himself in, like, that division specifically. You know, like the Richard Sherman and Michael Crabtree and everything. So, like, you got to,
I don't know where you're feeling, but I'm kind of like in an A minus range.
I'm kind of in an A minus. I mean, it's not like the best draft we've ever seen before, but it's something that they desperately needed to work on.
Moving on to the Falcons, yeah. They were interesting with they made a very aggressive move. So they took Jalen Walker. He's your edge linebacker kind of player. They can use him in kind of both. They very clearly were concerned with certain positions. They went two edges-ish and 2 safeties and then a tackle. So only 5 picks. Again, aggressive move getting Pierce after getting Walker.
Yeah.
They very, very much, I feel like, overcorrected with the lack of edges. They were like, all right, 2 first-round edges this time. So, I mean, Pierce and Walker, though, like, I don't hate it. It's really aggressive. They gave up a first next year. You didn't have a second-rounder. I'm kind of like a B minus. I feel like with you. I don't know where you're at with this or how you feel, but it's
I can go C plus or B minus. It's not great, but they did get their edges. They've desperately needed some help on that front. Like you said, they overcompensated a little bit because I don't think it was worth losing that first round pick, especially for next year.
Yeah, the next year one is the one I'm concerned about, but
yeah,
I mean, if they go out and win something, it's not going to matter. But
I can do a C plus or a B minus.
I'll move down to a C plus. I was kind of in that range, but I can go C plus. Just the value that they got and the guys they got were not
didn't
stand out, but
didn't even out in my opinion.
Jalen Walker, I think, is a good pick, but the move up for Pierce, I think,
I think that was a little overextended.
Yeah, it's a little bit much. But moving along,
we got the Ravens.
The Ravens.
Oh my gosh, you guys got a lot.
Just kind of working through these one by one. Again, I was happy to get Starks, and then getting Mike Green on top of Starks, I feel a lot better about our defense. So I think as long as Mike Green can stay out of trouble, I think he's okay. Starks obviously has the concerns with production last year, but I think he'll be okay. I believe he can find some room in there alongside Hamilton. You get O-line help, address linebacker. We got 2 tackles and a guard. Works pretty well because that was my main concern on offense.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
that's a good way to address it. Going out and getting Cone is kind of whatever. LaJohntay Wester at the end of the 6th, I thought he would be a little bit higher valued, but hey, we get a guy, and these guys kind of at the bottom are just random shots. We had a lot of 6th-round picks.
Yeah, you got what's it, 4, 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.
So, but like just looking at like the notables at the top, I think the most notables again: Starks, Green, Jones, Buchanan, Vincent, just bolstering the defense and the offensive line. A lot of people are going to talk about and have been talking about Tyler Loop, the kicker out of Arizona. Yes, that does probably mean that Justin Tucker's on his way out. So it is what it is. But hey, hopefully,
It is.
I trust us with our special teams picks. And I'm pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure he was one of the best kickers in this class. I honestly, I have this. You know my valuation, especially with Mike Green, but especially getting Malachi Starks as well. I have this at like at least an A.
Yeah, this is where I'm kind of sitting at as an A. Like I'm not.
Could have been better, and you still have some concerns with them, but I like the value that we got these guys for. Mike Green at the bottom of the 2nd is.
It's a steal.
But moving along to the Buffalo Bills.
The Bills. So honestly, obviously the best is Hairston. Well deserved, I think. Being a first rounder. I saw a little bit of film from him, and I like what he can bring to the table, and I think Buffalo has a future star at cornerback here. The rest of the draft, I'd say they definitely addressed a lot of their issues, especially on the defense, because literally everything but one. Okay, so there's about 9 picks, so about half of them were to the defense. Others were we got a tackle, we got a wide receiver, a tight end. So
they focused on defense, which they were
Yeah.
another team who needed to just get. They're just trying to get younger on defense
Yes.
and build depth.
because they need a stepping stone from that original Bills defense. Because as much as I loved that defense when they first started getting good, they were also sort of old. Like they were starting to progressively get old at some point, and it was,
Yeah.
it sucked, but they had to move on.
Looking at those first 5 picks, you double up on corner, you double up on interior D lineman, and you go out and get an edge opposite of Russo or Bosa and Landon Jackson. I really like again what they did. They acknowledged their needs. They focused on them. I think Hairston. I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth where he was undervalued, but at the same time, I think he also probably, because he was undervalued, could have been picked later. So I like him, but you might be able to get him later. Sanders, again, a good pick. Landon Jackson, all the way down in the 3rd, I think was a really good pick because
That was a steal, kind of.
he did really well at the combine. He's a pretty good athlete. So I think with this all in mind, it's not the greatest class, but I would say B plus is kind of where I'm at.
I'm kind of landing around a B plus right now because it's not like as great as like some of the last year's Buffalo's drafts, but it's still the Bills have been drafting pretty decently, so they've been consistent on that front, and I always expect like a B or B plus out of them when it comes to draft. So this is probably like more of a B plus than anything. So
Yeah, I think that's fair. But moving on to the Panthers. The Panthers, it wasn't bad. It's very Panthers-esque, where it's just kind of weird. Scorton, Uman McMillan, I think, is a good pickup, but you putting him alongside Leggett, which, I mean, again, it works, but like Bryce Young's going to have big-bodied receivers. That's just what he's going to have.
well, you got Horns Jr., but
Horn,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a
we'll
little
see.
smaller, so we'll.
We'll see
I'm
how
curious
he
to see how they
contributes.
line them up and what schemes they play, because I know. Well, the thing is that the difference between this coming year and last year is that Bryce Young didn't really have a lot of people to throw to, and
No, and
when he did, it was something.
I have this somewhere in like this could be anywhere from B to C. Like
I'm kind of leaning towards like a C plus because the only thing that kind of brings this draft out for the Panthers is maybe McMillan and Scorton. Everybody else is pretty meh. I mean, Horn Jr., like I said, a decent receiver. I just don't understand why he fell that far. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting class.
yeah,
But it's like you got name. It's just interesting to me. I like
yeah,
C plus. I think that's fair. Where it's not like super flashy. They just kind of went with certain pieces. I don't know.
for sure.
I don't know. On to the Bears though.
Bears. All right, so this is a draft that I want to discuss.
But yeah, I mean,
This is one of those drafts from like half of it's good, half of it's like why.
yeah, I look at like again the notables being Loveland, Burden, Trapilo, and Turner, especially bolstering up some of the defense and just getting some
Weapons.
or just some depth. And then
Yeah,
one
depth, I
guy
guess.
I think he's going to be what running back 2 or 3 I think on that depth chart.
He definitely would be a 2. I think he'd elevate himself to a 2.
But yeah, it's like you look at Loveland is like a head scratcher to me because
Why?
the value is interesting to me, but you know,
They
you
must
get Ben Johnson, you're looking for that guy.
Yeah, I mean, if he sees something in Loveland that we don't quite see yet, or if there's something that they wanted to get, I don't. This one confuses me, and that's what kind of brings the Bears draft down a little bit for me. It's just
The
the purpose of Loveland.
The Loveland one is weird. The Burden pick with the value I think is pretty solid. He's
Yeah.
was a fringe first round guy. If you can keep him out of trouble and keep him in check, I think he'll be okay. And then Trapilo, I mean, you went out and addressed tackle Shamar Turner. I don't hate either. Bolstering your trenches. Again, it goes I think back and forth. I think this one I'm in like a C to C plus.
This is kind of like a C for me.
Yeah, it's not super flashy. It's not anything spectacular. Sure, these guys can contribute, and if Ben Johnson can use them right, it'll be very worth it. But it's just
Yeah,
meh. It's a not super,
yeah.
fascinating. It's not a super impressive draft in
No.
my opinion.
All right,
Um,
time to go to the Bungles.
Oh boy.
So they only had 6 picks. Obviously, the highlight is Stewart. Overall, Bengals didn't do much this draft. This one's a weird one. I liked half of them. The other ones, like, yeah, you got depth, but I didn't know if you really needed them at the moment.
They didn't focus, I feel like, enough on the defense.
Yeah,
You
like
got Stewart, he's such a Bengals pick, I feel like, at the edge. But, as far as a pick, he's not very high valued. There are a lot of people who don't like that pick that much.
yeah, it was a kind of a weird pick at that point because
It makes
I understand Knight Jr. I get that pick.
I think that's a pretty solid pick, and I
And
think
same thing with
Fairchild-
Barrett Carter as well. Like, those two make sense.
Dylan Fairchild, I actually do think he has some pretty good upside for them and some depth or even some rotation.
Yeah.
That interior, like we noticed on draft day, he's had one of the better athletic scores as for an interior guard.
The other ones, they don't confuse me, but I'm like, you could have gotten better value out of them because I understand the Brooks pick because you need some depth in that running back room.
Yep.
But everything else, like the Rivers pick and the Fairchild pick, I understand protecting Joe Burrow, but the defense, though.
Yeah,
the defense.
really
Come
could've
on.
used it. Rivers, I think they're kind of set on the at tackle at least for probably a few years.
Yeah.
So it's probably more of a depth piece. Fairchild, again, I don't hate. It'll help with the run game. You kind of still don't have a great running back room. But again, Stewart is going to help in stopping the run game. You really focused on linebackers. I mean, it's all right.
It's
not
all right.
um,
I'd say like a B minus.
really.
I mean, it's not awful, but it's not something that I feel like should be.
I don't think it's.
Do you think it's more like a C plus then?
I'm C minus to C plus. I don't see this as better than
I can
the Panthers.
I can agree with the C.
Then we get to move on to the Browns.
So I want to. Because how many picks are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So I would say this is very similar to the Bengals, where it's half and half. Half of them are great. Half of them are what the heck are you doing?
So I will admit the quarterback situation is weird.
That was where I was going to say, what are you doing?
But what I will say, other than the quarterback situation, and honestly, you take out Shadur, I think you kind of get rid of that what are you doing situation. Because, they took Dylan Gabriel over him. Which, just like a side note, because there's a lot of speculation what's happened with Shadur. And honestly, what I think it is, and I think what it completely comes down to, is he interviewed really, really poorly.
Yes.
And I think that
does not surprise me.
I think that is purely what it is, because a lot of people are like, everyone's out to get him. It's this, and that. It's Dion, and it's like,
is it?
Do you realize how important interviewing is for a quarterback?
Yeah.
They're
trying to find that leadership aspect from you.
You're running an offense.
They're trusting you with the team too.
That is like that is the one position where your interview will completely tank your stock. And then on top of that, he was not an amazing athlete.
No.
He did not do amazingly. And a lot of people have compared him to Johnny Manziel as far as
he is
off
very
the field
much
antics.
Very much a Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel won the Heisman. Johnny Manziel was great in college.
Great in college, but in the NFL he sucked.
True, but that's why he still went high. Shadur was not Johnny Manziel in college.
Sorry.
So having the same issues, if not worse, because, again, there was an NFL assistant coach who came out and said, worst interview I've ever seen. It's going to tank your stock.
Yeah.
So,
it was very humbling for him, I would hope. Or at least that was the hope, that it would humble him, because he kind of needed that wake-up call.
It's a whole case. There's gonna be stuff that comes out. There's gonna be rumors that are spread, but obviously wanted to address it a little bit. But for the people who have heard enough about it already, we can move on and talk actual draft class. And I will say, quarterback room. It's weird because you're gonna have Shadur, Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, Flacco, and Deshaun, who's gonna be on IR. You don't know who's going to start. You don't know who's the future, but that can get worked out in camp. Basically, they just took a shot on two guys. So as weird as it is, I don't absolutely hate it. But looking at what they did the rest of the draft, you traded down at the beginning of the first, and you got really good value. You get Mason Graham, Carson Schwarzenegger, Quinton Judkins, really good pickup. Fannin Jr., and then again, Gabriel, Dylan Sampson double up at running back, and then Shadur Sanders.
A lot of people are upset because they didn't take Travis Hunter. I can understand that, and I don't think it necessarily tanks their grade. It would have been interesting to see Shadur and Travis Hunter on the same team.
I mean, obviously, again, Hunter would have been great.
Yeah.
But the value they got for giving him up, and you still get Mason Graham. You get, I think, honestly, a pretty good class. Graham's going to be helpful. Schwarzenegger's going to be helpful. People talk about that defense and how good it used to be. It's kind of deteriorating.
Yeah, it was kind of falling apart.
And this helps rejuvenate it, and you're going to have such good picks next year.
Like, it was not an awful decision. I think people were just too hung up on the Travis Hunter.
I kind of, again, you taking into account the trade value that they got and everything, I have this at like maybe like a B plus.
That's where I was kind of rocking with. They're not an A because
It's
of the quarterback situation.
I was close to an A minus. Again, the quarterback situation is weird, but you take a shot on two. Maybe one works out.
It's a B plus right now because I don't know what they're going to do next year. That's what I need to see.
But like I don't know. I think there's a lot of upside, but I think B plus is very fair for what they got. Enough of the Browns though.
Finally.
Now on to the Cowboys.
Okay, so
I mean,
I'd say their best pickups is probably Blue, Booker, maybe. Booker's one of those, he can succeed, but also that's not what you necessarily needed.
it's just like the value is so off.
It was off.
They needed to go elsewhere. You didn't need to go like need, but you didn't need to go guard here. Booker, again, not a bad player, but this doesn't really fix anything.
No.
For you. I like what they did day 2. You got 2 day 1 caliber guys on day 2.
Oh yeah, those
got-
were good.
Both guys were like fringe first rounders with Revel and Ezrawaku. I think those guys were good, and I think those are the main guys bringing up the class a bit. I think the day 2 picks bring it up a bit, but I have this like C minus to C.
I'll give it a C. But
We'll move
to the Broncos.
along, yeah.
This is one of my favorites. This is exactly what they needed, in my opinion. They got the cornerback, they got the running back, they got the wide receiver, they got 2 edges out of this, and we had a tight end just to kind of revamp that a little bit. Help with ETN and everything. So Broncos, in my opinion, had probably one of the best drafts in this year.
It's how much can especially the weapons contribute, because that was the thing that was a major concern was you were lacking weapons. You get better on the defense, and that's going to make them scary. But can these 2 guys actually bring your offense forward? That's going to be the question. But I could have this at like a B minus B.
I like a B. All right, Broncos, we're going to go to Detroit. Send them to Detroit. Detroit's one of those weird ones where I'm trying to understand. Because, like, they did get Tyreek Williams. I think that was a good pick.
I think, it helps on the interior.
Yeah, that's what they kind of needed. They got a guard out of Rutledge, which is good.
Frazier.
Which is good. And Frazier, yeah. Frazier and Rutledge, I think those would be good. They did get 2 wide receivers, which is interesting. Tesla and Lovett. I think I understand why, but that's just a lot of weapons that they have. Maybe they're just concerned about what the next couple of years are with their wide receivers. Maybe that's what it is. I understand.
I mean, Lovett is kind of a guy you just take a swing on and see if he's any good, he'll make his way up the roster. If not, it's whatever. It's a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Tesla, you feel a bit better that he can maybe contribute as a 3 in the receiver room or a 4, and maybe contribute as you have to consider, again, Williams, St. Brown, Raymond. Maybe he can be an upgrade at some point over Raymond. But and again, they addressed guard, which was a concern with them. You addressed D tackle, which was a concern. The thing they didn't address until the 6th round, though, which is where I'm concerned, is edge, because you really still don't have much opposite of Hutchinson, who's coming off of an injury.
Yeah. That's the one thing I wish they did focus on, and I know that they have the opportunity to do that.
It'll be interesting to see how that looks, but I mean, I'm not super high. I kind of have this around a C+, but it's the Lions are also a team who make picks, and you go, huh? And then in like 2 years, you go,
like, oh, yeah, it's one of those.
But no, I'm not like, it's depth. It's filling some positions of concern, It's planning for the future. I get that. I just C plus. Maybe I could go up to a B minus.
I'll go with the B minus. It's not one of their best ones, but it's okay.
But we'll move along here to the Packers.
The
and
Packers.
You want
So
to talk about confusing?
yeah, so they got a lineman, they got a tackle, they got 2 wide receivers, 2 edges, a defensive tackle, and a cornerback.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the golden pick, it made sense at the moment. I understand that. Hopefully, he does prove to be, someone really good the Packers can look to. But we've talked about this during the draft. Who is their number 1 receiver? We don't know.
And I go back and forth on it. It's like, why do you get Williams why do you get Golden if you were still going to take Williams? And I think this just makes me feel like they're very likely to move on from quite a few of their current receivers.
Yeah, because this smells like a lot of overhaul this next season. Because, I mean, what is it? I think of the wide receivers that are still there, I think Watson might be the only one who still stays.
Christian Watson?
Christian Watson.
I think he's too injury prone. Like, he might get moved on from.
Maybe.
Dobbs is coming off an injury.
Yeah.
Reed has had problems. Wicks is like, I could see them moving on from like at least half of them, and
That's fair.
Most of them are going to be gone most contracts end this year or next year. So
Yeah, that's true. Most of them actually end this year.
yeah,
Year.
it's 2025, 2026 is their entire receiver room, and so I feel like getting these 2 is, hey, we're gonna let some of those guys go, and that's like. And again, it's not just planning for this year.
No,
it's you draft for the future. And I think that's part of the reason Golden is there. But it was a little bit of a head scratcher. They didn't focus defense that much until day 3. You get Sorrell and Oliver, and you really cracked down on your defense. You really have to hope that they pan out and develop well, because you are not really. You're not really pitching guys who are likely to be first round or day 1 contributors,
No.
which if they wanted to make a run this year, I think they kind of needed that. But we'll see how these guys turn out. But I have them around a B.
I originally had him at a B minus, but I can bump it up to a B.
I mean, I could go down to a B minus as well.
I mean, it was not meh. But
Again,
it wasn't
Golden I think could be really good. Williams could be a good. It's not.
Golden and
It just didn't make sense a lot to me, which is
maybe we'll find out. Texans did address the O-line once. And that was
one
Ursa.
time, and I think Ursay's a solid pick. I don't like.
Where are your support? Where's your support?
You got one guy. Your O-line was a major issue, and you got.
Stroud is going to die still.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. Also,
you got Higgins, I guess, to replace Stephon Diggs, I guess.
Yeah, apparently Texans are not aware that there's receivers outside of Iowa State. It was kind of interesting. You got the trade down they traded down with the Giants, I believe.
Yeah, it was Giants originally.
So they got decent value. They didn't get a first for next year. I think they were the only day 1 trade down that didn't.
Yeah.
It's not horrible value, but I'm also not really too impressed with it either.
This one's kind of like a C for me.
Yeah,
Like good players, but this is not what you looked for.
This is a lot of depth.
Yeah.
Other than Ursary, who I think I would
You
be
solved
shocked.
one of the major puzzles.
I would be shocked if he did not if he did not start this year.
Yeah, because he needs to start.
It seems like a lot of depth pieces. So I'm gonna have this like C minus C.
I'll go with the C. Colts, not awful. They did get Warren.
You get Warren without trading up. I think.
Yeah, that's a great.
I think that sets
situation.
your floor at like a B minus.
Yeah, at the very least. But you did address mostly defense, I'd say, for earlier rounds, except Warren.
Yeah, they're like 50-50.
About 50-50. But it.
And
Smith to help with the line. Tuimolo, something you desperately needed.
Yeah, edge could be really helpful for them.
Wally will definitely help with that backfield. Colts just their defense just fell flat on their face this last year. I don't know what it was, but they definitely fixed it, or at least addressed it.
They got some pieces along with their free agency acquisitions. I think my biggest concern is they didn't address interior offensive linemen.
This is true.
Which is kind of something I'm going to be concerned about. But, I mean, hey, you got two quarterbacks who can run.
Yeah.
If they come straight up the middle, it's a foot race. So, and you went and got Tyler Warren. So I don't hate it. I would have liked to see them go out and get an interior guy.
Yeah.
But I think, especially just looking at those first 3-4 rounds, I do kind of like their draft a bit.
It's not bad. I'll give them that.
It doesn't bump too much up from that floor, like
No,
baseline
I'm
floor.
probably
at
like
B
a
minus, so like
B minus right now.
moving along to
Jacksonville. So obviously, Travis Hunter. That doesn't really need much explanation.
I think that just puts them so high.
Yeah, that puts him really high. Ransaw, I like that pick. Jacksonville definitely addressed most of what they needed. They didn't do a whole lot on the lines, though.
They didn't, and there's some concerns there. They addressed a lot of defense, which I think
They
is
did.
going to be really
Defense
good for them.
was a desperate thing that they needed to focus on. But now I think for next year, it's going to be linemen.
And I think the thing you look at here is you went out and you hired Liam Cohen, and you hope that there's just enough development and enough weapons for Trevor to succeed. Even if like the line isn't great, you hope that the play calling can assist him there and that he can thrive with what he has to work with. I think regardless, because of the potential,
A.
I have this like A minus A.
This is an A for me.
We could go A. I'm just so happy that they got Hunter and then you get Ransaw behind him. Move along to the Chiefs.
The
who
Chiefs.
got O-line. They got a tackle to help their O-line issues. They got an interior D lineman and Norman Lott.
One wide receiver. I don't know much about Royals.
This is like an annoyingly good class to me. Like it's not like
It's good.
amazing. If Simmons can turn out, that's going to be really annoying.
I can see why that is, but I'm still concerned about why they haven't addressed more of the lines and the edge position.
And I think again, you get Edge in the third. You go out and get Simmons, who has potential to be. He was like
He has
his
a
upside
potential.
could be of a top 10 tackle.
If things would have been different, I think this would have been like at least an A minus as the floor. But right now, this is kind of sitting at like B.
I think again they did annoyingly good.
This isn't that annoying.
It's again a potentially really good tackle. Norman Lott is potential to be like a top 3 interior guy in this class. You address edge, you address corner, you get a receiver who fell probably further than he should have. And you're looking at mostly 1 through 4, rounds 1 through 4.
Yeah, I was
But
about to say rounds 1 through 4 makes.
rounds 1 through 4, they did pretty good as far as especially just positional positional need being addressed.
Yeah, I guess it's fair.
I think the names they got are pretty good, which is why
Yeah, but-
again this is why I think it's annoyingly good.
I'm still sticking with like a B though. I don't think it's that.
Could I sway you to a B plus at least?
We can go to a B plus.
Moving along to the Raiders, I
So-
think they did pretty good.
Raiders got a lot of things this draft. They got their running back, so Pete Carroll was very happy. They got Beck, a wide receiver that whoever is starting at quarterback can have fun with.
Gino.
Porter, you got your corner. Rogers and Grant definitely will boost that O-line.
Just looking at like not even necessarily
They addressed pretty much everything. I'm going to be completely honest.
Day 3, I think, was mostly just depth.
Yes,
But
that was all depth on
Day
day
1,
three.
day 2, again, you're getting O-line pieces, really going to help your offense. You get a potential generational talent at running back. That's going to be super helpful. You get that along because you have Geno Smith for this year, next year, however many years. I forget if it's Beck or Betch.
It's Beck.
But you double up on receiver, but I think he's going to be really helpful to a room where you needed a receiver. Porter I think has way more value than where they got him.
Mm-hmm.
Porter
was
really like this class for them. They
I'm
really bolstered
kind of
the
sitting
offense.
at a floor at an A minus right now because it was really good. And I don't really say that about a Raiders draft class. But that was really good.
We can go with an A minus. I like their class as a whole, but
Mm-hmm.
to the Chargers,
So there's not a whole lot I'd say from this class. Out of the AFC West, I'd say the Chargers was a little underwhelming.
yeah, and it's going to be curious to see. They're going to lean on the run game again.
Oh, yes.
I think this year.
All run game.
Harris, I think he has a potential to contribute, and in a room where it's a receiver by committee sort of thing, you don't have a huge playmaker.
Yeah.
But you have kind of a committee. I like that. Caldwell, again, 3rd round value at D tackle is pretty solid. And then Kennard is a potential developmental edge. He could really come into something, but we'll see with him. But it's not horrible, or it's not bad, but it's also not great because they focused the run game. So it's just going to be, I think, more of what we saw last year.
Yeah, probably. So I'm probably
B minus,
B
C
minus.
plus is where I'm at.
C, C minus or C plus.
C plus, okay.
Yeah, I'll chill with that. All right, then we'll
on to
go
the
over to
Rams.
the other LA team. I mean,
I
not
think-
awful.
I think your biggest takeaway is you have a second first round next year.
I was about to say, yeah, Rams got a steal.
Other than that, it's not a great. The Rams are someone though who they pick so well later,
Yeah.
that's where it's going to be like how good are these guys actually down the
Yeah.
board, because it's just where they.
This is all depth. That's all. That's what I understood this one to be.
Well, so that's what we say that, but then again, Puka went super late. They got Blake Corum super late, who is a contributor. So they pick up these guys late that can play. It makes it so hard to gauge their class, but it's like, I don't have it as a great. Again, you're mostly viewing it for the trade, I think.
The
I'm
trade is what's going to set them apart next year.
I'm not super high on this class though.
No.
So I don't know where you're feeling around this, but I'm kind of like C minus C.
C.
Okay.
C. Yeah.
Um,
We got Dolphins. So Ewers going as late as he did.
he's probably not going to be starting then anytime soon.
Which is unfortunate because he's actually not that bad. I know he's from Texas. I don't like Texas, but Ewers wasn't awful.
He has
I like
potential.
him.
He's one of those guys where I think he gets a chance to look at stuff, but he's probably not going to work with the developmental team too much, and he's probably going to be just mostly listed as a backup.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
so-
I'd say the best they got out of this draft was the 2 defensive tackles.
They really bolstered up that defense. I think that's really good.
That's kind of what they needed, really.
In a year where you have question marks on your offense, your offense is probably going to be rough. But if these picks fall correctly, you might be able to win some games.
Yeah, you'll
relying
probably
on
get
your
more
defense.
value out of what you.
You're not gonna have. I don't think it's gonna be. You're not gonna have a Super Bowl team. You're probably not gonna make a playoff run. Maybe you sneak into the playoffs, but I think they're gonna need another year to develop. I have this at like a B minus with the defensive value that they got.
I'd say a B minus.
It's not great.
It's
but
not a great class, but I'll stick with a B minus.
it doesn't fix their problems, but
It addresses it.
it addresses some of them and kind of sets them up for the future. But moving on to the Vikings, who have
So Donovan Jackson, Ty Felton, Tyron Ingram Dawkins, Kobe King, and Gavin Bartholomew. So
they got Jackson at 24, and I think
Yeah.
that was a little high.
that was a little much. But overall, I'd say they didn't really need much from this draft, if I'm going to be completely honest. The Vikings were just kind of chill from not picking a whole lot this year. I mean, they did need to address the defense just a little bit. And they did. They got defensive tackle, linebacker. I don't know how good these guys are.
I just wish they would have focused defensive backs a little bit more.
Yeah.
But they felt the need to go for another guard, so they've gotten 3 new interior guys, and you went for Felton, who's going to be what at most your receiver 3 because you already got a 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So it's again another class that's a bit of a head scratcher. I don't view this one too highly.
No, this one's kind of like a.
Kind of have this at like maybe you have this in B range. I have this like
C maybe.
I have this like lower C's because I'm like really
C plus is the highest I'll go.
the highest you'll go or the lowest you'll go.
Highest I'll go.
Oh, I'm on the lower end anyways.
So C.
Sure.
Okay, we'll
I
go
was
C.
like C minus.
Oh.
It was like T plus to C.
Oh,
right?
that's. I don't think it was that low, but
I don't. It's. I mean, you get depth, but it's small. You're not really getting anything that's going to be super helpful right away.
yeah.
From what I've gathered, I mean, maybe Jackson does, but
Yeah.
But we could do C or C minus.
Okay. So the Patriots.
I'll let you go.
This one, okay. As much as I don't like the Patriots, they didn't do a bad job. I'd say getting Will Campbell was definitely a good thing. Getting Henderson second round was actually really good. I think that was really impressive. They did get some stuff later down the board just for depth and clarity. And they did They did get Marcus Bryant as another offensive tackle for that line. So Drake May won't die as much? Question mark. And they did get a center. They got Jared Wilson from Georgia. So that also helps. I think Drake May will have some time now to, throw it around. And he has a couple receivers to throw to now. So it's not that bad of a draft. I'm probably going to give him like a B or a B plus.
All right, and the reason because I wanted to see how you felt about it because Will Campbell potentially he's not
good.
my top tackle, but
He is good.
He's one of the, if not the top tackles in the class. Henderson, great running back. Kyle Williams is going to be a very big help to the receiver room.
Yeah,
that was
he's gonna bring some.
You get
weaponry.
another lineman, and then you get all of these pieces. Swinson, I think they got pretty good value for Swinson, Farmer. I think they got really good value for a lot of pieces that are really going to help them.
3 7-round picks. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think they did extremely well getting pieces to help Drake May in that offense while also patching up and rejuvenating the youth of the defense. I really like what they did, and it just seemed like they did it very casually.
Yeah.
So I really like.
They
what
addressed
did.
a lot of things that they needed.
I know I'm gonna be higher than you, but
Yeah.
I'm like A minus A with how they drafted. I addressed O line, got running
I can
back,
do an A
receiver.
minus.
Then we move on to the Saints.
Saints got stuff.
I'm gonna
The
be
sock
honest.
one is the really bad one. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna be honest. This might be my worst class.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, this is probably gonna be.
I don't know what would be appropriate. Again, Banks, you're getting a tackle of the future to protect whoever that is. Shuck,
Why?
just no. And that's nothing against, but you got him way too high, and I don't think he's worth that value, especially with the other quarterbacks on the board. I mean, yeah, you're getting some pieces, but I have this as like probably the worst class by any team. I don't know if you want to put that as like a D, a D
Yeah.
minus, and just an F.
I'd say a D.
The Giants, on the other hand,
Okay, so this is one I want to cover. So Carter, Dart, Alexander, Scadaboo, Embo, Fedone, and Black. Bill Carter, I do not need to say more. Jackson Dart. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Shedeur Senior should have been drafted here. I don't. Like, I understand why some people don't like Dart, and yes, he did have some pretty bad games. I am not going to lie. But if you develop him right, I think he can be at least a decent backup. Darius Alexander from Toledo, I think he's a good pickup for that defensive line. Scadaboo, he's no Saquon Barkley, but he's a heck of a running back.
yeah, he's gonna be really
That
nice with Tracy.
that playoff game sold me on him. Like he should have been picked higher.
I think the Giants, and it's like, again, it's not like the other ones where they're getting like a huge class or anything.
Yo.
You're getting a couple people who can be really big contributors down the line, but Scadaboo with Tracy is gonna help a lot. You have Abdul Carter, who's gonna be, again, it wasn't your biggest need because he's going into an edge class where you already have 2 starting caliber edges.
Yes.
But now you've made it 3. You can get creative, and then you add Jackson Dart, who is likely he's going to sit for a year, maybe a little bit of his second year, but you give him a time to develop, and he needed time to develop. So the trade up, and you didn't have to give up a first.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not bad, but
I think they got a lot of really good value, and especially with, again, not giving up a first and getting Dart, who can develop and potentially be your quarterback of the future with the other guys you got. It's not gonna fix your team,
No,
but
but
I think it's a really
it's a
good
good
building
start.
block.
It's a good
And
start.
So I got
And
this like at a floor of A minus.
yeah, I would say an A minus because Scadaboo, Fedone, and Carter bring it up. Dart, I know I'm a little hesitant on him, but he does have potential.
Yeah,
The other picks are kind of meh. You got some building blocks, but yeah, A minus.
I think Dart is he's gonna need the time to develop, but you've given him at least a full year to develop, which, I mean, a lot of first round quarterbacks are expected to be starting by the end of the year.
Yep.
You've given him a full year. Just imagine what someone like that in that position can do. So I'm excited to see what he can do next year.
The Jets,
I think it's pretty good.
it's not bad. I mean, Membu obviously the best of them.
Membu and Taylor.
Malachi
are good
Moore
picks.
actually, it's not bad. I like that one.
Yeah, I love the value of Membu. He to me was my top tackle.
Yes.
Mason Taylor, he's going to be a likely pretty strong contributor for that offense. And then you go out and get a corner who can hopefully step up and at least play either slot, or he can play opposite of Gardner after you lose DJ Reed. I like the guys they get. It's nowhere near like where I have the Giants or anything. I have this more towards like a B plus because
Yeah, B plus is not bad. I'll let them sit at a B plus.
So
Eagles, oh my goodness, off the bat, Jahad Campbell, that is a steal. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
are we surprised that
No, I'm not. I don't think anybody is
they
surprised.
steal Georgia and Bama players every year?
And they took Ty Robinson. So I'm gonna say at least an A minus for the Eagles. This was a really good class.
I love the value they get in their first 3. I wish they would have done a little bit more on that D line. Obviously you get Powell Ryland at the end, but
Yeah.
it's not. Again, that's a really late swing on just kind of a player. So it's like, as far how much is this actually going to help with that D line that lost a couple of pieces? Who knows? Moving along though to
the Steelers. Okay, so obviously their best players are Harmon and Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson, in my opinion, was a steal. Jack Sawyer, obviously another good pickup. Will Howard, I'm surprised as late as he went, if I'm going to be completely honest. Especially with he is the quarterback who won the championship for Ohio State.
Yep.
I mean, in my opinion, he was kind of a system QB, but he's still decent.
And he's going to a system
QB
offense.
situation,
Yeah.
so he's going to be fine. So I think Steelers, obviously, they're going to go back to that 9-8, 10-7 route, but
We'll see. As far you didn't really address quarterback very strongly though.
no,
so I
but they have a starter.
like potentially. We'll
I
see
mean,
what
Will
happens
Howard
with
can do
Rodgers.
something, but
He could start, but I don't know if he's NFL ready yet.
no, he's
So-
definitely not. I think give him a couple more years, and maybe we'll find out.
But yeah, that's the issue is they need someone this year. But again, if they didn't need a quarterback, this would be such a better class.
Oh,
But
for sure.
that's the thing that's really pulling it down is you right now are looking at Will Howard or Mason Rudolph. So that's why I'm like, I
Yup.
feel like it should be higher, but I have it as like a C plus.
C+ is fine for me.
As again, really good value for a lot of those guys. You need a quarterback and
And you need to address the O-line.
O line, yeah, would help too. Moving on to the 49ers though.
So they got a lot of picks. They did address a few things, which is good.
They really went.
They
on
really
the
needed
defense.
that. They did get Watkins and Bergen as receivers. Not bad. And they did get Rook from Indiana.
He's your cheap backup.
Yeah. And you got Colby from Iowa. I mean, he's not bad. Good guard. Jordan James, though, I didn't see much of him from Oregon. I heard decent things about him, but I don't know how high he'd be ranked as a running back. But other than that, I'd say overall, this wasn't a very great draft for the Niners, but it was a pretty decent one, I'd say overall, especially with them addressing the needs that they kind of needed.
They needed to definitely address the defense. Again, this is another one where like some of the names they went with, I'm not as high on. It's
Yeah.
like again Williams. I mean, I guess he's one of the guys up there, but you have concerns about his actual like pass rush production. Collins out of Texas, I think, is a pretty solid pick. Martin's pretty solid. Stout. It may be more of a fourth, but you get him at the end of the third, so it's basically the same thing. Again, it's not horrible, and you go positional value, like positionally, yes. This
Yes,
is what you
positionally,
needed.
yes.
I would have hoped for better names, but I'm
They
kind of in like a B range.
Yeah, I was going to give him like a B anyways. All right, Seahawks. So I would say Evan Ward is probably the best player, in my opinion, that they picked up.
Best value.
Best value. Milrow, obviously a lot of people are like, why the heck would you take Milrow when Shedeur Sanders is on the board? He is a project. He has a lot of ceiling, and if you develop him right, he's going to be really good. He's a project.
He is a
He's
project,
very
which
raw.
You get him at the bottom of the third. You get Evan Ward. Like I love the value they got these players for. Especially like the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, they were on fire for a while.
I really like what they did. These guys down here are gonna they're gonna find some contributors. Damian Martinez, I think, will. I mean, they already have a running back room. It's just they got linemen. It's gonna be.
They
There's
have
gonna be
literally
lots of room
everything.
for them.
Yeah.
So,
I'd say it's a great draft.
And again, Zabel is also going to be extremely helpful. So I
Yes.
think they addressed a need, they addressed best players, and they addressed the future all in one draft. So I do like what they did. It's just it's the Milrow thing that throws me off a little bit. But I could have this A minus.
I'll go with A-. So Buccaneers. So now we have
Here's a head scratcher.
Buka, Morrison, Parrish, Walker, Roberts, and Tez Johnson. So, interestingly enough, they did go corner, but not in the first round. Igbuka at pick 19 in the first round was a little interesting.
I like some of the names they picked.
Yes.
It's an issue of you really feel like you needed to go receiver, and you did, and you double dipped. You double dipped on 3 positions.
Yep.
And you needed pretty much everything on the defense.
Defense.
I'm real iffy on it. But again, I think they got some. I like some of the names they got. It's
Oh yeah,
just
definitely.
a need really. Priorities. I just feel like we're not in the right place. So I have it. It's not again, pretty decent value. It's good players, but just not the one.
Not the ones you needed.
Really where they needed to focus. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm like B minus C plus in that range where it's like it would have been a lot better of a class if that's what you needed, but it
Yeah,
wasn't.
C plus is probably where I put him at.
Okay.
All right, second to last one. We got Titans. So we got Ward. That's the best of the draft, supposedly.
Yeah, that's your that should be your franchise quarterback.
And I'm excited to see what he does. I am rooting for him. Obviously, the Titans are not the best situation, but it is a place to start. I mean, come on. You saw Jaden Daniels turn around the Commanders of all teams. I mean, anything can happen to the Titans. It may take a few years, except, we just don't know.
maybe.
But I don't know. I kind of like this one. It's not too flashy, but it's definitely something that you addressed certain positions. Like you got a couple wide receivers, a cornerback, you got a running back.
It's not the greatest, but it could have been much worse. I have this B minus.
I was
maybe?
gonna say B minus,
And that's really with the asterisk that Cam Ward is what you need.
Mm-hmm.
But finally,
the Commanders. So
yeah, I think Connerly is a pretty solid option. I think is definitely a fringe level, or first round fringe level tackle, and so getting him where you did, I think that's pretty good value. We'll see how he contributes, but I think tackle is a good position for them to look at, and so I like that they went and got that. Amos,
Amos.
you got him a lot
Relatively.
lower there than I thought he would have gone. So
Yeah,
that's good.
Good
for
pickup
you.
there.
I think he's gonna be able to contribute there. I kind of have this around like a C plus, and
yeah.
because I like their first and second round
Yeah.
picks as
I
players.
agree, and it's such a smaller draft, so this doesn't go very high.
It's just hard to keep it up there, but yeah, that's
all of them. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the new setup and everything. It's a little funky. It's a little funky for me right now because I'm not looking my normal direction that I did all season. So, but thank you all for joining us, and we will be doing skits and stuff. So I think the census right now is that we'll do a podcast episode a week during the summer. We'll try to, and then we'll do skits as well throughout the summer. Just kind of spread them all out, so it's not all clumped into like 1 week, like we did earlier this last summer because we lost time. So, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you around.
bye.